Most people spend their entire lives without having mastered the art of public speaking, but the characteristics that make a good speaker as opposed to a bad speaker are pretty obvious to most people, and you can tell when you're in the audience of a speech. So when you're on this side, if you want to succeed, a good characteristic, just to start, would be to project your voice. Your audience has to hear you. You're never going to get their attention if your speech starts with you being timid and they can barely hear you, and if the people in the back can't hear you, you're doing something wrong. You gotta speak from your belly, as they say. You have to project your voice. Also, you want to stand tall. You want to stand with pride. You want to be confident when you're speaking, because that helps keep your audience engaged. Then they know that you know what you're talking about, or at least that you feel like you know what you're talking about. So you don't want to hunch over or kick your hip out or stand there with your elbow on the podium. You want to stand tall and stand with pride, and you want to dress nice while you're speaking. You don't want to be wearing jeans and a t-shirt or basketball shorts or sandals or something. And of course it does depend on the occasion, but for the most part you want to dress nice, at least business casual, I would say, if not a shirt and a tie, or put the jacket on and make it a full suit. Of course, you want to make strong, concise statements as well. If you're making weak statements and using like and repeating yourself and making wishy-washy statements, the audience is going to lose interest a lot faster, and you're going to lose credibility in the eyes of the audience. You want to make concise, concrete statements, and you want to speak them confidently. Of course, whilst doing all of this, you have to make eye contact with the audience. You can't look down at your note cards or whatever's on your podium or stare straight ahead because you're scared to make eye contact. You have to scan the room. You don't have to look at each person's eyes individually, but you do have to scan the room and make eye contact, and that helps keep your audience engaged too. And that the same goes for hand gestures. You want to make hand gestures and just show that you're as interested in the topic that you're speaking about as you're hoping that the audience is. You don't want to stand there stiff as a board or with your hands in your pocket or behind your back. You want to make gestures and you want to engage your audience and look excited about what you're speaking about. And of course, one of the more important ones is that you have to speak clearly. You can't mumble. You can't speak rapidly and use the slang that you and your friends all understand. You have to speak very clearly. You have to make sure that your audience understands you. Otherwise, what's the point of your speech? If during the course of your speech you're to use somebody else's work, maybe it's a really good quote and you like it and it fits the topic of your speech, you have to cite those sources. You cannot use somebody else's work, quote them verbatim, or even paraphrase without giving credit where it's due. You have to cite your sources, otherwise you lose all credibility as a speaker. And you certainly want to have good timing, especially when it comes to using visual aids. If I were speaking if I'm, like Steve Jobs at one of his famous press conferences where he's unveiling an iPhone and he's building up to the big release and he says, the iPhone's here, and 5 minutes early, it pops up on the screen behind him, the whole speech is blown, right? You want to have good timing. Poor timing will only show that you didn't prepare, and just as with most of the other bad characteristics, your audience will start to lose interest very fast. And last but not least, if you can't pull all of that together 100% and you do happen to make a mistake, you have to roll with the punches. You have to keep going, especially when speaking in front of a live audience, because if you make a mistake and then you get tense and nervous and start stuttering and repeating yourself, they're going to lose interest like that. The whole speech will be over. You have to roll with the punches, excuse yourself if you have to, apologize, restate what you said that might not have been accurate, and keep going. Otherwise, again, the audience will know you didn't prepare and they'll lose interest very fast and you will not be able to regain it before the speech is effectively over. So I think if you can master those 10 characteristics of good speaking, you'll do pretty well.